Hey everybody, it's Dr. Cindy Stark coming in live for my Tuesday at 10. You may notice I have a completely different setup today. I am having some major work go on with my cable here any minute now. Horrible timing. The technician called in sick. So I'm really hoping that this stays live. I'm staying really close to my tower here in my house, and I'm on LTE. So also anybody in here, tell me if this looks better than it normally looks when I'm hooking up to the Wi-Fi. Anyway, my name is Dr. Cindy Stark. I'm an internal medicine doctor here in Gainesville, Georgia, and I come in every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Hey, Liz, talking to you about everything to do with your subconscious mind, trauma. I have a very soft place in my heart for anyone who dealt with childhood trauma, and I kind of woke up one day when I was 40 years old, and I realized I kept on living my life based on some trauma that had happened to me when I was a very young, very young teenager. And I set out on a 10-year journey on how to really live myself, live my life, and lead myself from a place of power instead of kind of based on a script that had been written when I was 14 years old, where I was just like self-sabotage after self-sabotage, wreaking havoc on my own life, not even knowing that I was doing that. And so I'm coming in here every Tuesday at 10 to give you guys really just tools on how to learn how your brain works, because what I've learned in my trials and tribulation and journey is that we can want a certain thing in our lives, but what we realize is that, or what I've realized is that all the boundaries and the goals and wishes and hopes that you make in your life are created from this frontal lobe, your thinking brain, the critical factor, and that is only running about 4% of what's actually this amazing power that's harnessed in our brain. The other 96% of it is run by your subconscious mind. So if y'all are coming in here live, can y'all type in hashtag live? And if you're coming in on the replay, type in hashtag replay. And I would love to know where you're from. So all the newcomers, welcome. I see 5 people on, so I'm going to get right into it. Today we're talking about boundaries. And what I was just saying a minute ago is when you have your subconscious mind and your conscious mind and they're not going in sync with each other, then you're just kind of creating these patterns of self-fulfilling prophecies of getting exactly what you most don't want in your life. And when I started learning how to harness the power in my subconscious mind, and I realized that all the boundaries I make for myself and the goals, I make them with my 4%, but then I live it out based on the 96%. When you can get both of those going together in the same way, things start happening in your life very quickly. Things that I had struggled with, relationship problems that I struggled with for 22 years, got fixed in a matter of 6 weeks when I learned how to create boundaries for myself and stand up for myself and leave which was not serving me. And then an online coaching business that I've been trying to create for 4 years just started magically coming together once I realized that these belief systems that I didn't even realize were lodged so deeply in my subconscious mind were running the show, creating exactly what I didn't want in my life. And so that's what I'm here to bring you guys today for the whole month of of June. I also had told you what I tried to really go in and tell you what I knew, as much as I knew that are in 30-minute digestible bites about our physical body. And we went into sleep and the energy and the food and the spiritual meanings of different elements. And now I'm kind of diving back into the old school stuff, the stuff that I've been doing for a year here, and it's trauma and subconscious rewiring, because I'm all proponent and a believer of you. Our bodies are mind, body, and soul, and you can have the best mindset, the best body, or the best soul. But when you really living your life with all 3 of those firing on all cylinders, that's when you start getting stuff done. And I don't know about you guys, I'm 52, but again, once I hit 40, I realized this is not going. If your life is not going the way that you want it to go, then you really have to realize, what are you doing even if you don't know that you're doing it, what are you doing that might be causing the problems that you have? So let's start by, and I have my notes over here, so I'm going to really try to get through my notes, but and I am not able to see any comments today because of how I'm talking. But if you want to type in some comments, I just realized how to do it. Okay, hey Penny and Tanya, it's so good to see you. All right, so I'm going to start and Pat and Michelle. Okay, I'm gonna turn them off because that gets me very excited to see who all's here. So I have some people from high school and some people that I've just met in the last 4 months of my life. So all my favorite people in the house. So I'm going to start by just defining boundaries, okay? And a boundary is a line that marks the limit of an area. Now, your personal boundaries are limits that you kind of set within yourselves. You create those boundaries. You have to live them. You're in control of them. And until you learn exactly how your brain works, you're actually, what I've learned and realized is that you're making the boundaries, you could be making them just another way of sabotaging yourself. And self-sabotage is one of the ways that we will keep on creating repeated behaviors, so that the things that we most hate about ourselves and that we're the most shamed about ourselves, you keep doing that over and over again. And you have to realize that our subconscious mind and self-sabotage, it's there for us, and it's there to prevent damage and to keep us safe and in control. But when you realize this is just our reptilian brain back here, and the things that it is doing to help us stay in control and to keep us safe are distorted images that are just back there because of filtering systems that have been parental and religious and societal and environmental programming that's been with us since we were kids. It's not actually doing for you what you want to do. So if you are actually sick and tired of living your life the way that you're living your life, and it's not going the way you want to, I just want you to know that you don't have to give up. If you learn your brain, you can actually get both these sides of your brain working in harmony with each other. And trauma is, in my opinion, self-hatred at its worst, and deep judgment at its best. And we can't help what happened to us in our past, but and when we can't change the past, but what we can change is how we look at things, and we can change the future. And when you heal trauma, you actually break its cycle, and you don't just heal it for yourself, you heal it for your kids too. And you can break those generational curses that I know in my family. Alcoholism runs in my family, and different things. And I've just seen so much death and destruction and loss and divorce and bankruptcy and poverty because of that one disease. And if you don't realize the power that you have to overcome that, and you're just succumbing to these patterns of behaviors that have been with you ever since you were a kid, then you have no power from that place, And so I don't know about you guys, but I would love to break generational trauma and just the ties that bind us, and these repeated behaviors that run in families. I'm just sick and tired of things being the way they were in my family. And I knew that I could have better for myself, and I've created, set myself on this healing journey. And I'm just here to bring you some tips on things that I've learned. And if you're so mired in your own pain to do any work, and you can't really see a way out of it, that's okay. Keep coming back to me every Tuesday at 10. But if you are ready to do the work, and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, I've already in the description of today's talk, I've already put a link in there on how to get in touch with me and get some time on my calendar, and just book a call with me, and we can talk and see if you can see if you have what it takes to, and if you're at a space where you're ready to actually do the work to start living a different life. So our belief systems that are in our subconscious mind really magnify what's on the outside, and what you have to do is change the relationship that you have with yourself so that you can live a different life on the outside. I wrecked my own life for decades with my own belief system of I'm not worthy. And I didn't even realize that I had that belief system until I was over 50 years old, and every single thing I did, whether it was a relationship or whether it was a job or whether excuse me, it was a house or a friendship, every single thing that I was pursuing in my life, it was not happening in my life, and I was so frustrated with how everything was going, and it was just because there was this belief system, I'm not worthy, and the way I lived my life made that belief system come true. And I'm going to try to explain that to you the best I can, how that is. So what we think happens is when things happen to us in our life, when we encounter people or places or things, and then we have a deep emotion with that, good or bad, whether it's extreme happiness or like terrifying fear or pain, that's called an influence, okay? A person, place, or thing coupled with an emotion, that's called an influence. And we think that when we come into contact with those influences, those experiences, we take on that information with our eyes, and it goes right into our subconscious mind, stored as a perfect memory of what happens. And but that's not actually what happens at all. What happens is that we take in things with our eyes, it bypasses this thinking brain, and then before it gets stored as a memory, it gets filtered through this certain part of your subconscious mind called your reticular activating system. And in there lies all your environmental programming, all your social programming, your parental programming, your religious programming, and it will your subconscious mind will delete, generalize, or distort any information that it's taking in to match the specific filters of what is in your subconscious mind. And over 97% of that was created by the time you were 7 years old. Okay, so let me give you an analogy. Imagine, there are these multifaceted stars. I like to use this analogy. It helps me. I'm a visual person. And just imagine these stars have like 20 points on them, okay? And that's the real reality all around you. You have these 20 pointed stars of relationship possibilities, very fulfilling jobs, houses, cities to live in, trips to go on. But in your subconscious mind, those 20 pointed stars are not going to be seen as 20 pointed stars. They get digested down and whittled away down to like these just 3 pointed flat. They're not even 3-dimensional stars anymore. They're just like 2D, because that's what's in our subconscious mind, because we were exposed to trauma. And I went over one of the talks I did. They're all cataloged and categorized in my Facebook group called Reclaim Your Life and Health under the featured tab. So we talk about what is trauma, but the trauma that we've been through really goes in there and changes our belief systems about ourselves. It changes the way that we see things, and it's not our fault. It's our brain trying to keep us safe. And so everything that are these beautiful stars now are just digested down to little flat triangles, okay? So then what happens is then our subconscious mind moves that distorted image of that flat triangle up to the frontal lobe, and that's what is called in our mind as a memory. So the only thing that you see are things that match the trauma, okay? So you can't see any of those beautiful stars, you're just seeing the flat triangles. And so we are literally living a life with a sliver of the possibilities of everything that is around us, and we're literally living from a figment of our own imagination. And from that place, you have no choice, because you can't even see the stars. All you're seeing are the triangles. And you don't even realize that your subconscious mind is doing that. It's running 96% of the show doing that. And when our only options are created by these distorted views and versions of what is there, then we have no hope to create a different life for ourselves. And so number one, we're not deciding what we really want in our lives. And if you want choices, you're going to have to deal with what's in that subconscious mind. And number two, we are trying to use our conscious mind to create all these new boundaries to do something about it. So you're trying to create the boundaries with your 4%, and then this 96% of what's actually running the show is not in alignment with the 4%. And when you're not in alignment, then the inner dialogue that's going on, it literally is going to be nothing but self-sabotage. And you've got to get both of those on the same page to be able to make an effective change in your life of what you actually want. And you keep wondering why you're feeling like a failure. And you know, the worst thing is that we just shame ourselves for things in our past. We're battling this 96% of what's running the show. So I just want to empower you today to stop shaming yourself, to tell you that it's not your fault. And you keep thinking, I should do this, I should do that. Why can't I do that? I know I should. Well, if you've never heard this phrase before, I want to give it to you this morning. And if you have, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But just don't should all over yourself. A lot of us are spending our whole life just shoulding all over ourselves. And it's not your fault. It is, you are actually what ends up happening. And I'm going to get into this the next time I talk, next Tuesday at 10. I'm talking about perfectionism, and I'm going to get into the Tony Robbins core human needs. But we are actually trying to create either significance or love in our life by living our lives the way that we live, and actually by not setting up the boundaries you're supposed to set up. The boundaries that you set up with the world are the same boundaries. They're reflective and mirror images of the boundaries that you set within yourself. So any trauma that you've gone through, it just keeps showing up in these repeated patterns of behaviors. And if you can live your life with the 4%, along with the 96%, you're going to make quantum leaps in your life. And again, I just want to tell you again and reiterate, your subconscious mind is just there for two things: to keep you alive and for pleasure and procreation. And if you think about when we were developed as humans, you know, we haven't been around evolutionarily speaking for very long. And the things that would keep us alive when we were really first created, we had saber-toothed tigers around us, and, you know, just huge animals that could eat us. And, you know, that is how our subconscious mind was developed, to keep us from the threats of that kind of thing. Whereas here in our life, when you're trying to have a great relationship, or you're trying to have a really healthy, fulfilling kind of a job, if anything that you see kind of has an inkling of what that saber-toothed tiger, you know, created, then you're going to stay away from it, you know, because you're trying to keep alive. But they're really not saber-toothed tigers anymore. We don't have those in our day-to-day life. Maybe if you live in certain parts of the world, but not here. Anyway, so if you are able to clear your reticular activating system, then you're actually giving your brain the environment to know that all of this stuff is safe. It doesn't mean life or death, even though that's what our subconscious mind was created to think. You keep thinking that things are not safe and that you might die if you do it. Like, the biggest fear people have is like speaking on stage, and they literally think they would rather die than do that. Well, you're not going to die if you speak on stage. You know, that's just a good example of it. And if you are able to clear your reticular activating system, you're able to see all these gifts around you that were literally invisible before. So if you can clear that wreckage, and there's no other way to put it, this is kind of like an intense sentence, but if you can clear that wreckage from your past and heal it, then you are healing your generational lineage that's brought down from your mom and dad and your grandma and grandpa at a cellular level. And when you heal that, and everything in your life changes. When you use these tools that I teach, I run a 12-week transformational health program where I use these tools with my clients to actually heal all the trauma and the damage that it causes. When you clear that and you're actually able to see everything that's in your life, people can heal from decades worth of depression and anxiety. I've seen people heal autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and diabetes with these tools. You know, trauma it just wreaks havoc in our lives. And you know, the traditional medical healing space, of which I was trained in that, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but we use medications to kind of cover up the damage that's done. You know, let's say you suffer from anxiety or depression. We're going to use medications so that you don't feel that, so that you don't feel anxiety or you don't feel depression anymore. It doesn't do anything to actually heal what caused that in the first place. And then like psychiatrists and psychotherapists, they bring awareness to the problem. And so you can see every single thing that is going on around you. But again, it doesn't, those modes of therapy don't give you any kind of tools to help you actually go in from your deepest, most infinite wisdom. From when you were a child, you have all these inner children in here that have infinite wisdom to share with you. And those versions of yourself can actually resource yourself so you can be living from the playbook that's uniquely created for you. And so, I mean, I've been a recipient of medical care forever and psychologist care forever, but I'm here to tell you these tools actually help me live a different life. Instead of just giving me medicine or instead of just giving me an awareness, I actually am able to go and resource myself and live my life the way that, you know, that God uniquely intended for me to live my life. And that's what we're here for, you know, to share our gifts and talents, not only with ourselves, but also with the world. You know, there's no other time except for right here and right now, and your ability to make a change in this world and in this earth and in the hundreds of people that you're exposed to on a weekly basis. I feel like if you don't do something about it now, if you're not living your life the way that you want to live it and you don't do something about it now, then you're losing your opportunity to make that specific, unique change and kind of stamp in this world that you are meant to make on the people that you're here inhabiting this earth at this moment in time for. And there's just nothing better than to be able to know that you're living in your passion and your purpose, and you're able to do everything that it is that you want to do. And you know, in my program, when we clear out the reticular activating system, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. And I know that you know, the people pay a lot of money to come into my program, and the money is the least way that they pay. I think about how much have you spent in your life on jobs that weren't right for you, on relationships that weren't right for you, even in your physical health that wasn't right for you. Everybody can teach you how to do things, but until you know how to do it yourself, then you know, this is something you're co-creating, just you and the tools and God, and no one can take that away from you. And this healing, it lasts a lifetime. And you know, you can stop the trauma cycle, and when you do, like I said, it stops it for your kids too. And when you know that you're living your life based on the playbook that's set out for you, and then you're showing your kids that they can do it, they get to experience a completely different mom or dad, and then they know what's actually available for them too. And again, you can't change what brought you to this moment, right? You can't change your past, but you can change your future, but you have to be willing to do the work. And I always say, it's not more information that you need. It's not another book that you need. It's not another bottle of pills that you need. It's not another, you know, hours and hours and hours in front of a therapist's desk that you need. What it is you need to harness the power of your whole entire mind that's here for you. And there's only one way to do that. And that is just to get rid of all the junk that's just kind of mucking up the filtering system back there, that's keeping you and preventing you from living the life of your dreams. So if you're, and I always say there's a continuum. There's people over here that are ready to do the work, and there's people over here that are mired in their pain. And if you're still over here just getting information, that's great. And just please keep coming back to me, and I'm gonna do my best to give you wisdom so that you can live your best life. But if you're tired of going to all the doctors and trying all the medicines and reading all the books and going to the retreats where the healing just lasts for, you know, a couple of weeks until you get back home and into your own life, and then, you know, it gets filtered right back through your filtering system of I'm not worthy, I'm lazy, I'm unlovable, and then, you know, there's like 99% of your brain telling you that's bullcrap. I'm going to call bullcrap on that. All these new beliefs that you created, that's not true, not for you. Remember this that you did in 1982, and my God, you remember that, what you did in 1987? And then it just snaps you right back, like like with rubber bands right back into the old version of you. If you're sick of that, you know, and you're ready for true healing, then come, just book a call with me, or even just DM me on Facebook. I will get back in touch with you. But what happens is that your subconscious mind loves taking the easiest path, and there are these well-worn neural pathways, almost like grooves in a record, you know. I know most of the people in my world are kind of like my age, and so I know you'll get the analogy of the 33s and the 45s, but you can just see those little, you know, the grooves that were in the record, and the needle goes right into it because it's well worn. Well, that's what ends up happening in our brain if we don't do something about it. There are these well-worn neural pathways, just like the record player, and your brain's just going to keep going back to those well-worn ones that aren't doing you any good. But your deepest wisdom that's going to get you out of this cycle of self-sabotage, it's going back to when you were a kid usually. And the methods that I use actually get you in touch with these versions of yourself where all this wisdom resides. And you know, God, we are divinity. We are created in his image, and we have the wisdom in us. Sometimes we just don't know how to get to it, right? And these methods actually get you in touch with the deepest wisdom that's in there. And it's just an amazing thing, you know, the things that you remember about yourself, and you just remember how strong you were and how much you survived and how much of a fighter you were. It's just absolutely amazing. But if you're sick of being unable to set boundaries, or even like meet the boundaries that you've made for yourself, then just let me know, because we can heal the parts of ourselves that are creating those patterns of behaviors, and then you can let go of shame once and for all. I'm here to tell you the last thing you need to do is to shame yourself over what's happened in your past. You're just meeting your core needs. And again, I'm going to get into those core human needs that Tony Robbins delineated a really long time ago. That's just so eye-opening, and most of it is just you're trying to show yourself that you're significant. You're trying to show yourself that you're worthy of love, and then, you know, you're not even meaning to do anything negative to yourself. There's nothing else in your life. Everything in your life is meant for right here and right now. You know, God didn't let you go through your specific, you know, lot of trauma and trials and tribulations for nothing. If you don't do something with all that's happened with you in your life, then you went through all of that for nothing, you know? And when you can teach yourself how to gain that wisdom and give yourself that emotional availability in your subconscious mind to know that it's safe to give resolution and to live your life that you want to, then you're healing. And then you can go and create the life that you want to create. And, you know, I always tell people after they go through my program, you can actually go back and read that book now and read your notes from your therapist, and then it'll all sink in at so much of a deeper level, because now you're able to see what it is for truly what it is, and you're seeing the 20-pointed stars, right? And not just those little flat 2-dimensional 3-pointed triangles. But I hope that analogy made sense to you guys. And again, I just want you to give yourself grace. I want you to have hope for the future. And I want you to release any shame or guilt, because you're here in this moment in time for healing, and you've gotten all the information in the past. You've gotten all the books. You've been to all the therapists. Now it's just time to do some work. So come into this group. I'm going to keep coming back every Tuesday at 10, and none of what you went through and none of the self-sabotaging behaviors matter. You were just trying to take care of yourself, and you still are trying to take care of yourself. And just know that you're human and you're perfect, and I love you. I know what you're going through. And if you want something different for your life, so you can actually, like I said before, live your life based on the playbook that was uniquely designed for you by God, then book a call with me and let's get to work. I love you guys, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 10. Take care.